Mr. Message to Iran in this moment?
Don't.
Joe Biden is in a real big political pickle right now, but honestly, it's one of his own making, like all the problems he has, right? So when he campaigned for president, he was basically saying, hey, I am the moderate. I am the adult in the room. I will bring back normalcy, decorum, stability to the nation and therefore to the world. But then, of course, as soon as he got in, he went hard left. And all those people are saying, hey, I think he's one of us. Joe Biden's on our side. He's backing those green initiatives, right? So, of course, they're all going to him in droves. But now, with the Israel-Palestine conflict, he's actually come out in support of Israel. Oh, no. And that, of course, has driven away all of the leftists saying, hey, we're not going to support you. We are not going to vote for you. So what does Joe Biden have to do now? Well, basically, nothing. He's got to talk out of both sides of his mouth. He's got to support Israel on one hand, but not really do anything functional on the other. And that's exactly what we have been seeing, because we have this whole Iranian conflict where, of course, they rained down an unprecedented amount of rockets on Israel, but there's more to the story than that. So first, let's jump into Peter Doocy totally excoriating John Kirby on, of course, Joe Biden's epic response.
John, has President Biden considered maybe beefing up the public Iran posture to be more than just one word?
You're referring to don't.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about...
And they did it anyway.
And let's talk about what we did, Peter. Let's talk about don't and did. Let's talk about Saturday night. He made it clear that he didn't want to see escalation in the region.
And what?
Let me finish. He added military resources to the region right after October 7th. And then when we had an inkling that this kind of thing was coming, he added even more military resources to the region. More destroyers that were capable of shooting down ballistic missiles, a fighter squadron that was able to shoot down drones. And that's what we did. So you can talk about the don't word all you want, but let's talk about what did happen. And what did happen was Iran utterly failed. And if I'm sitting in Tehran right now, I'm betting that President Biden takes it pretty seriously when he says don't escalate. He's going to act to make sure that you can't. And they didn't. Yes, they fired an unprecedented amount of munitions, but how much of a success did they have, Peter? None. Zero. Very little infrastructure. It was an embarrassing failure for the supreme leader for the IRGC.
So yeah, Joe Biden asked for no escalation in the region, and just because Iran completely ignored him and rained down a huge amount of missiles and rockets doesn't mean it was a failure, right? The policy here holds true. We put in resources into the region and we were able to intercept the attack. So good on us. It sounds to me like no one takes Joe Biden's threats seriously because they know he's not going to back any of them up. That, of course, is why you have Russia running amok. That, of course, is why you had Afghanistan being completely overthrown. And that, of course, is why you have Iran now acting up in this situation. All that's left now is for North Korea to come out and complete that trifecta. Quadfecta? How many nations did I just name? I don't know. But either way, that is what's happening. But there's something more sinister here going on. As we can see here, the Biden administration reportedly provided guidance to Iran in Saturday's drone and missile strike on Israel. So something very interesting has happened. Iran informed Turkey in advance of its planned operation against Israel. A Turkish diplomatic source told Reuters on Sunday, adding that the U.S. conveyed to Iran via Ankara that its operation must be within certain limits. So what we have here is possibly communication between White House or its affiliates and Iran. And apparently, don't doesn't necessarily mean don't. It means, hey, we're going to have certain limits on this attack, and then it's okay. So yeah, Iran doesn't care because Joe Biden is a paper tiger. He is weak, he's ineffectual, and no one takes him seriously. But let's get back to that Peter Doocy.
Now that we know that the Iranians do not listen to President Biden's public warnings, is there any regret here about unfreezing billions of dollars for Iranian leaders during the president's administration?
What unfreezing are you talking about?
He unfroze billions of dollars.
For Iranian leaders?
Yeah.
Really? I don't think so.
Okay,
so first of all,
it's for humanitarian purposes, but doesn't that...
But you don't believe me.
Well, doesn't that free up money for them to spend on other stuff? Where do you get the money for an unprecedented number of munitions to fire at Israel?
So first of all, I'm betting if they're sitting in Tehran, they're taking it seriously when President Biden says he's going to defend Israel. We put skin in the game, a whole heck of a lot of it, and knocked almost everything out of the sky. So I'm betting they're taking it pretty seriously. And as for this unfreezing, none of that fund, none of those funds set up in an account, by the way, by the previous administration, goes directly to the supreme leader, the IRGC, can only be used for humanitarian purposes, and we're watching that account very, very closely to make sure that that's what happens.
The answers are nonsensical. Oh, I bet that the Ayatollah in Iran is taking everything really serious after, they ignored our warnings and went ahead and attacked anyway. They're sitting back saying, oh, they knocked down all of our rockets. Well, what's going to happen to them? Absolutely nothing, because you gave them $10 billion and you're probably willing to give them a whole bunch more. So I like how he tries to pawn off the problem to President Trump. It was set up by the last administration. But did he give it to them? All right. And I never understood this idea of giving our enemies money anyway, because Iran, of course, is the biggest state sponsor of terrorists around the world. We know this. All right. So why in the world are we giving them anything? Why aren't we just sanctioning the crap out of them altogether and doing the same to any country that dares to do business with them? But never mind any of that. Of course, over here, that $10 billion is a real thing, as reported by the Free Beacon. The Biden administration renews Iran sanctions waiver that unlocks upwards of $10 billion for the regime. But don't worry about it. It's only for humanitarian aid. Warlords and despots, they never take the money that's given to them and spend it on other things, but don't worry, it's being closely monitored. In which case, why give them money at all? Why not just give them food or aid if we have to give them anything, which I don't believe we should? So this is completely ridiculous, completely nonsensical, but this is the Biden administration in a nutshell. So to them, it makes perfect sense. So these people are not afraid of Joe Biden. They're going to act as they will. And the only thing that's going to stop them, unfortunately, will probably have to be a response from Israel, which will probably escalate the situation. But don't worry, Trump was the one who's going to start the war with Iran, not Biden. So sleep safe and sound tonight in your beds, knowing that Biden is on the watch. So as usual, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay safe out there, people, because they're coming after you.